Welcome everybody to the Synapse Philosophy Group. We are still with BJ Palmer and our masterpiece, an amazing book. We're on chapter of Limitless Innate Limited Matter, and we're on page 118. And I'm excited about it. I'm wearing my special shirt from Dr. Sid Williams. Chiropractic, just like gravity, works whether you believe it in or not. I remember sitting in orientation with Dr. Sid, and I waited 3 hours for him to drop those keys, and I was so happy when he was like, yes, he finally dropped those keys. Now I just wish to see him again and see those keys. But we are on the shoulders of giants. We truly are, all of us. So Carol, great to see you there. We got Barry, great to see you. And Alan, awesome to see you as well. We had a bunch of people say they're joining in, just like they always do every week. And, we're doing our thing no matter what. And we are really, making history right now and creating a database for the future of chiropractic to go back, listen, grow, talk about, rebuke whatever we say. There's no right and wrong in philosophy. Chiropractic philosophy, D.D. Palmer, B.J. Palmer have set up our tenets for how we serve the people. I'm really excited about this. Alan, if you don't mind, would you mind doing some reading?
I'd be happy to. I'm excited about this chapter. There's a lot of good stuff here.
I'm going to mute everybody out, okay? I'll mute all, including myself. Alan, you'll have to bring yourself back in, okay?
And there I am. Okay, so we're, again, as Haig said, page 118 of our masterpiece, Limitless Innate Limited Matter. Is the limited expression of matter of man a hypocrite when he tells the sick world how to get well, and by going down the wrong road here and there, then and now, fails to serve health to himself? Physician, heal thyself. There is an issue of matter where one can take just so much punishment down through the years and no more. When that time arrives, innate rebels and teaches the individual that limitless innate must do much within the limitations of material body. And if the individual pushes beyond that breaking point, beyond human possibility, something gives, after which limitations of matter have been reached. Hey, you disappeared from the screen, The limitless innate thought flashes an unlimited frequency of problems to a certain limited machine who, through necessity, not convenience, has limited time in which to move mountains of failures backed with prejudices. This limitless innate and limited man machine can do just so much in his limited span of time from 1905 to 1961, and no more. Innate pushing, squeezing, demanding every day be 16 to 18 hours, 7 days a week, including Sundays, every 52 weeks a year, proves that matter can only stand a limited wear and tear with a breakdown here and there, and then and now, which follows especially if the individual accepts every and all thought flashes demanding consistently beyond its disability, something gives and the inevitable happens. So I just want to point out here, right here in this paragraph and going through this entire chapter, BJ's talking about himself personally and always in the third person through this whole thing. So this is all about his personal experience and then sharing with us how to address this issue for ourselves. So he's talking about innate, wearing him, using him, and making him work, despite what his body can do. Innate doesn't care. Innate says work.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is what he's saying is every individual accepts every and all thought flashes demanding consistently beyond its ability. Something gives and the inevitable happens. But the thought flashes, That's what most of BJ's writings are about, listening to your innate, getting out of educated and listening to innate. This is where he's saying, you know what? It's taxing. It takes work, mental and physical. And it's a practice skill as well. And yes, you gave us the punchline at the end of this, really, but really paying attention. How much are we doing that? When he built a little bit of heaven, really was what he saved his own life doing that, because he was having a breakdown, because he gave in to innate so much and he didn't think of his material. We have to be in balance for those things as every human being, but as chiropractors as well. We're not invincible. There's no way we're not invincible at all. All right, go ahead.
To multiple people of limited matter, average day is an exhaustive 8 hours work, 8 of relaxing pleasure, and 8 of recuperative sleep. Not so in some especially innate chosen limited human being, through which the limitless innate has chosen to perform definite and positive responsibilities. It is common procedure for this limited innate to thought flash to limited sleeping brain, endless, unlimited ideas during the so-called 8-hour restful period. There is no returning to sleep until the limited matter gets up, writes, rewrites that which those thoughts precisely in explanatory language. Then and not until does limitless innate retire and let the limited matter return to sleep. The more limitless innate thought flashes are respected in its demands to record its unlimited interpretations of its law and principles, the more frequently they come. Less rest sleeping limited matter gets, month by month, year by year. This breaks down restful periods, wears the man machine to an exhaustive state of matter. The written word is praised, but the man matter suffers in exact reverse ratio. And the first line in that last paragraph is something we've talked about before, where it says, the more you listen, the more innate will talk to you. And he goes back through that more as we go forward.
It's a practice skill. Yeah, exactly.
You have to learn to listen.
And take action.
Matter, regardless of the body innate exists within, can resisting conflicting frictions to its human limit. After that becomes human abuse. You can wisely suggest matter should hesitate, call a halt when it reaches the recuperative limit and exhaustive period. Innate, having nothing limit, or no limit probably is more appropriate there, having found an assemblage of matter appropriate to its biddings, thinks more of masses to be served than of any one unit himself. Every living person has innate, or he wouldn't be alive. Every such organic functions as proof such exists within him. Every person gets innate thought flashes. Vast majorities do not realize this, therefore are not conscious of such. The more educationally you deny, the less you will receive. More you admit, much more you can receive. Education is considered a new plus ultra, most essential. It is that which he seeks, struggles, and strives to get more of, most of. Innate is the silent partner, unobserved, unknown, because education is 99% for ambitions of people. They think mostly in terms of cramming more of it into the outside in, below, upward, getting little of innate percolating down and through to education. But reversing that order, all would realize innate is the wholesome and reliable knowledge of all things, while education is artificial, superficial, sidetracked, counterfeit of the real you within you. Is it sensible and logical to have more faith in a spoonful of medicine from outside than the intellectual power which built your body from inside?
It's a beautiful chapter. And the first thing I think of is Spock. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few,
or the one. Yes.
That's what when you read that line up there about, the middle paragraph.
Yeah.
That's what I thought of. And, you can feel his heart in this. You can really feel BJ, I've worked my butt off and I feel it, He's had lost relationships. He's had he's worked hard for this. Yeah, it's a great chapter. All right, we're moving on to the next area right here. I feel like reading a little bit. Do you mind if I jump in here?
Go ahead. There's a typo at the end of that first paragraph, right where it says within, that should be potentials, I believe.
I'll figure it out, I think. Quantity and with quality of innate is 100% all the time on all subjects. As it filters down through the educated brain with scholastic trainings, its value diminishes rapidly, even to zero in many people. This drop in quantity and quality of reception between the two portrays man's inequalities, preventing peak of perfection of thoughts and actions. If educated man would think less of too much scholastic educational training and depend more upon innate thought flashes, he could and would take his place amongst the original thinkers of history who conceived greater understandings of dormant potentials within him, which is usually submerged by contrast. And the important part for me in this is when we're in our analytical mind, we're not in our spiritual mind. If we're in complete logic, that's where I think a lot of us in chiropractic, where we have this separation, everything being so analyzed and analytical and absolutely has to be the absolute vector that my intelligence and my education tell me I should be. Are we forgetting about listening to what innate tells me? And, when we're open to those thought flashes and allowing innate, get the blocks, the SOT blocks, blow the dust off them if you haven't used them. If you get that thought flash or adjust T4, but it's not in my findings as the subluxation, and adjust that vertebra, and you see magic happen if innate is talking to you and you're listening and taking action. This is where I think people get confused about BJ being so absolutely analytical. He also allows the spiritual to guide him. And this was the paragraph really, I think, is poignant to that effect. Anybody else? Should we move on? In the egotistic exaggeration of his ego, man speaks of the other fellow, his consciousness, that something in behind as a subconscious or non-conscious, unconscious mind, as though he, with his conscious mind, was the greater. Any intellect great enough to build a completed child unit in 280 days, when man, with his boastful education, could not make one tissue cell and cause it to functionate life, is not breath or inferior.
Beneath.
Oh, beneath, my mistake. I didn't see the end. Is not beneath or inferior to his petty thinking. In reality, it is a superior conscious intellect. What do you guys think? Any input?
He's saying that everybody depends on educated and thinks that that's superior, and they calls the other unconscious. In reality, that innate that is not unconscious. It's really the super conscious.
It's omniconscious. It's omnipresent. It's all things. And we don't want to take these in the scientific mind. That's where he was doing the research so we can measure innate as well. But a lot of the big thinkers like what's his name? Slipped my mind.
I don't know which one you're working on there.
I don't either. But the spiritual has to be factored in our scientific research. I lost my train of thought. I cannot remember the dude's name. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. Barry, you want to read a little bit?
I sure will. Yeah. I think that was a perfect pause, Haig. that awesome thinker. You know his name.
Dude, whatever. Einstein. That's
pick
who I was
one.
thinking
Pick
of.
one.
All right. It was when he found himself in his relations with his inner super self, he decided to listen to innate more and less attention to education, especially in gaining a knowledge of self within himself, thereby gaining a greater knowledge of what man made tick in relation to his studies of life, health, sickness, and now to recover lost values. He would listen, heed, and act upon its advices when thought flashes came through in a split second. I'm wondering what values were lost there to recover lost values.
You know,
Wonder
you know,
if that's times with family, moments with friends, life, health, sickness, and now to recover lost values. Interesting.
yeah,
Man seeks to go to the moon. To attain this goal, education correlates scientific mechanical brains plus billions of dollars to create a rocket, cramping a living body inside to get there. Paradoxically, the internal human natural normal source of all intelligence come from ideas stored in that unseen, unknown, innate above. By the time innate's knowledge reaches education, it becomes perverted, distorted, modified by multitudinous theories coming in from outside in below up, becoming over-exaggerated, grotesque, drawing less from innate from its natural and normal down to educated's monstrous and sensational concepts. Man's great ambition is to conquer outer worlds beyond his inner world, then contemptuously keep idle the superior source from which he interprets negative, contradictory understandings. This young man found there existed a worldwide breach between innate people and educated people. The small group were nonconformists. The large group were conformists. When innate thought flashes came through the smaller group from above down, inside out, larger group of educated people developed outside in, below up, innumerable complex arguments, debates, compromises, endeavoring to prove smaller group were wrong, and there was no such thing. The larger group worried, stewed, fretted, days, weeks, months, and years to prove smaller group were wrong. To deny contact between small and large groups were the chore undertaken by larger group. With all its evaluation of building human bodies, innate flashes, inspired messages, and split flashes of time, usual education misses all, denies what it does receive, then begins the struggle of perspirations opposing them. No wonder education misses much of internal realities. In one flash, visions and wisdoms of the ages can come true. Education then takes years to bitterly oppose them.
You know, just like we always say, I mean, he writes, you know, most of the, besides the research and things, he's writing about getting out of your own way, you know, being spiritually guided. And you know what, that sums it up so eloquently, really, of the big group, let's just say the AMA, or really everyone that hasn't been educated in chiropractic yet, that we are the small group. And really, it becomes logical if you look at chiropractic, but everyone's just attacked because they want to disprove, even within our own ranks.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's not just the AMA. It's this speaks loudly, and he may have been speaking even more at this point about in the 60s about problems in the profession, which have only gotten magnified since he passed. We're missing somebody, that anybody that is as focused and prominent and speaking out in our lifetime at this point as he was, or Dr. Sid was, or Dr. Sigafus was, the people that the Dr. Barge, we don't have one of those right now that I see overtly.
You know, but they're there, and when you know it's coming up. We had giants that we looked up to, but you know, they were all us, and you know, at one time as well. And we're like I say, we're walking on the shoulders of giants.
Yep.
We're taking things a step farther because they had to fight a lot harder than we did. Just visiting the bell tower at Life University. I don't know if you guys have ever been there. All the names of all the people that were jailed are etched inside. And we just stood there from reverence and just read the names. And, I haven't gone to jail to feed my family, and or anything else. And, we have those masters like Fred Barge. And I keep thinking of him as I'm reading this, are you the doctor? And, it's wonderful stuff. He might have been at Palmer right at this time, or, a few years before this. Was it the 1950s? I think Barge was there.
I think he was there a little earlier.
I believe so.
It's somewhere around that time. All right. Should we keep moving forward?
You bet.
Let's do it. Difference between these two types of people is that the innate thought flash person is an originator, comes up with new and startling different presentations, something which moves human understandings to new unknown fields. Educated types plod along in old established ruts, takes paths of least resistance, does what grandparents did as they did them, scoffs at a something new he cannot understand. The innate personality makes history. The other, with educate misunderstandings, puts on brakes and ridicules them because they can't be done.
Yeah. That's where you see, what's going on in our profession. But, really of just being at peace and having, a spiritual consciousness. It's a good section right there. I'm going to read this next one. Is that all right? Go ahead. You got it. You're already starting.
Every impression received by innate from its material internal body fixtures or received through external environmental abstract senses of sight, hearing, tasting, feeling, or smelling is recorded indelibly in innate memory. Like a tape's talk, they are invisible, waiting to be played back when needed. Each is mentally interpreted, stored, card indexed, cataloged, filed, subject to recall in emergency or upon desire, as listeners' circumstances warrant. This is not a new theory. It is recognizable, and it is constantly happening to everybody. It occurs with regularity with the innates of all people, regardless.
And I want to say something too. We're reading a lot more of this without discussion because he's speaking to an end. This is it. And we've done it, and it is poignant and it's correct. And, we're coming from our spiritual side. And also he's made it, for the logical side as well. This is the science as well. We've done that for your left brain, and your right brain. We've got that too. And I don't know if we've read straight through so much. When we're reading Didi, we stop at, we read one line and we end up discussing for 45 minutes. But he lays it out so nicely for us, and it's well written, and it's just nice.
I think that first line in that paragraph is actually pretty important, and we shouldn't skip over too quickly there. Every impression received by innate from its material internal body fixtures or received through the external environmental abstract senses of sight, hearing, taste, feeling, or smelling is recorded indelibly in innate memory, like a tape talk, so they can be recalled. Innate knows all and yet is aware of what's going on educatedly, and all that goes into the complex, and is available for innate and for you to use going forward. And
Yep.
It's something that I've said a long time ago before I remember reading some of this. But in reality, everything we see and hear, even though we're not aware of, is captured. It's in there. Our brain stores all of that stuff. It's just we don't know how to access it all the time. But this is saying innate is storing all that stuff.
Yeah.
To be able to reuse at a later date.
In volume 33, in Fame and Fortune, BJ asks, where is that stored? Where is it? Is it really actually in here? Is it in the cells? Is it in the Akashic record? Is it in the universe? Where are we storing all that stuff? And then instantly recalling it. Use the smell of cookies reminding you of your grandmother, or gardenias reminding you of a dinner date with your wife. Who knows? But, you know, all those things coming up so quickly from, you know, I could just think about my father's apartment in Manhattan and I could smell it, you know, where it didn't smell bad. It's just, it smells of my dad, you know? And, you know, where is all that stored though? He asked that question then. We talked about it when I was in school. That was one of the books we read over and over again. And then we also reviewed it here not long ago. How long ago? It was a couple of years ago already. But that's what I thought of. And really good point, Alan. Thank you very much on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's real powerful, because what you guys are both talking about is it's the system. It's innate is what we're working with as chiropractors. And for those listeners, like we were saying, or BJ was saying, everybody has one of these. Everybody has one of these. So that first cold you went through, that first broken bone, that first stressful situation you went through, your innate remembers that. It has good memory. I tell my clients it has good memory and bad memory. Let's tune in on that good memory and get the good memory to last more often. So whenever you fall again, or whenever you come up against that bug again, your body, your innate is able to fight it more. And this is something that's huge. And if you think about the power of those memories, like Haig is saying, this is priceless. For you to remember your father's apartment, don't even know his name. I already have a visual, I already have a smell that's going on just from your communication of saying that. And this is extremely powerful that BJ is writing and talking about now. It really is.
And well, if innate is remembering it all, it's going into a global memory that's ultimately shared, you know, by each of us and everyone. It goes back to that innate is a part of, but apart from universal, you know, and where's that spirit go when this body departs, right? And so that's all part of the ongoing memory, global memory of the universe, if you will, to make it even bigger than just humankind or our planet.
Right. Right. Extremely powerful. So if you could tap into that and tune into that individually, but also collectively, you would, well, here we are educationally thinking, theoretically, we're going to be a better species.
If we can allow, well, and the other edge of that is, if we can allow innate to speak to us, who has all this knowledge, then that's all available to us as we allow that to come into us and allow us to be better prepared for everything else. We allow innate to direct us rather than the limited educated brain. That's what he's talking about here throughout this chapter, is how big can you let that innate be, and how much can you allow that to come through you and allow that to direct you. And because it knows, it'll help you, it'll help save you when that car's coming at you.
You know, there's that, absolutely. Yeah. In the moment, you know, there's been a couple of times where my wife said, oh, that was a God moment. We should have been in that accident. And thank goodness we weren't. But, you know, the big part of the innate flashes, though, is taking action. We can have it. Oh, yeah, this would be really great. I'll write it down. But unless we do something with it, it was wasted. Right? So it's really taking those actions is the biggest one. You know, I just got a moment where I really should toggle your left atlas instead of right today. And I tell you, my atlas is usually left atlas, ASLP. Often I've had it come to the other side. And I have great chiropractors around me that noticed it when I felt it, and I felt terrible as it. But, you know, we see those things, other things come up in people, and it's getting out of the educated way and say, okay, I'll accept that. Let's see what happens. And we take action on it. And, you know, he mentioned that in here, you said it, but I think that's the biggest part. That's the big part they left out of the secret too. You got to do something about it. You want to be a chiropractor, you got to go to chiropractic school. You can't just call yourself a chiropractor, right? We all have to go through that trial.
Right.
All right. Should we get to do this next section?
Sure. You going or you want me to go? You said you wanted to read.
Oh yeah, I'll do it. Taking action, right? From boyhood to mature manhood, ours has been a full and crowded life. Its trials, troubles, and tribulations, joys and sorrows, handicaps and victories are endless. Responsibilities and burdens have been light in many ways and tremendously heavy in others. Our diversifications of interests and mental activities are beyond computation. We enumerated some. Like you're saying, he's speaking in the first person, but all of us can sit and think about this too. It's all of us. We've all had big crap happen to us, and then we've also had light days. We all can. I can anyway. I can relate. We enumerate some. We have traveled many times around the world. Mileage 1961, 1,769,000. Social, professional, legislative, legal, associations, secret orders. These are all bullet points, everybody. Public speaker, writer, author, printer, publisher of 37 volumes. I'm going to stop there one moment. I have been trying to figure out how many, he's publisher of 37 volumes. How many volumes did BJ write? Because there are a number of them now are from other people. Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to keep moving on. We could think about that. 10 scientific laboratories, researcher, mental institution for mental cases. That's Clearview. Private clinic for the sick, cafeteria. That's a lot of work right there. Philosopher, artist, musician of the pipe organ, scientist, circus fan, oriental art connoisseur, caveologist, volcanologist, osteologist, anthropologist, and a hobbyist. BJ's trophy room, with its hundreds of citations, honors, awards, tributes, degrees, resolutions, complimentary memberships, presentations of endless gifts, etc. 23 acres of Palmerton, housing 400 students. Deep sea fishermen, a little bit of heaven with its almost 2 million visitors. Institution of Chiropractic with 1,000 students, including 165, excuse me, that's Stephen, 165 from foreign countries. Professional friend of thousands of legitimate vaudeville, radio, TV, movie, and circus folk. Winter home in Sarasota, Florida, which I've been to, we talked about today. All pile up to a prodigious store of data, memories, ad infinitum.
Ad infinitum is
Education.
that, yeah.
What is it?
Ad infinitum, yeah.
Infinitum. Education could not possibly recall all items of information stored away. Now, when we need something, we don't have to remember it all the time, right? We can recall it. I always go back, BJ, he asked that question in volume 33. Where do we recall that from? You know, we have all that, he has all this experience. We have experiences of our lifetime. Where do we store that? Where is it all? I think it's just truly amazing thinking about it. And I just had on the chiropractic history page for the KP subluxation from D.D. Palmer, page 16. That is from the kidney area.
That's what I said. Kidney place.
From the kidney place from the Merrick chart. Okay, yeah, exactly right. Kidney place. So that was confirmed and reconfirmed. It just sounded too easy. So we can take the easy road sometimes and be correct.
This last line is referring back to what he said in that last paragraph that we just were talking about, because what he's saying here, what he said there was innate remembers everything. And here he says education cannot possibly recall all the items of information stored away.
Yeah.
This refers right back to that other. It says innate's got it all. You can't possibly keep it all.
And really, what a gift is that? Because if you had to think about everything just to remember everything all the time, and then also digest your food and make new cells every moment, there'd be no time to live. Thank you,
And
God,
breathe,
for
for that
giving us
matter.
that. Pardon me?
And breathe.
Yeah. Go ahead, Barry.
No, I was gonna say this is something this year that I've been saying every day, countless times a day. Is yeah, exactly. Think about the things that Innate is doing that you and I don't have to worry about. You know, sending the proper chemicals over to the kidney. Oh, my big toe needs a little more a big toe toenail there. My skin needs a little more over here. My hair here. My eyes there. Oh, I forgot my detox down here and my spleen. You know, Innate's got all this covered. We don't even have to worry about it. Like Alan was saying here, BJ, in his amazing career here of all these things he did, educationally, he can't remember it, but Innate does. Powerful.
Absolutely.
It's extremely powerful.
Innate's on the job. Thank you. You know, absolutely. That's very important. Should we wrap it up here, or should we go a little bit farther? Let's get through this section. How about we do this section?
Take
Maybe
one more
these next
one more paragraph. Yeah, that one more piece. I
Yep.
think goes back to this.
It's good. Why don't you do that one, Alan?
Suppose you entered into a conversation. Something somebody did recalls to your mind that cliche, that reminds me. Where you educationally would like to recall some experience, photo experience you had long forgotten and had not resurrected for years, yet you couldn't dig it up at that time or moment out of the past. Millions of incidents forgotten. That one you need right now soon comes forth clearly with details. Have you ever talked about friends long gone, long obliterated, and you wanted to recall a name, town, date, and you couldn't? Conversation continued. Suddenly, without advance notice or warning, thought flashes back in with all details surrounding that individualistic person, name, town, place, and time. Where did it come from? Innate storehouse brought it out of the warehouse of memory, and thought flashes to education, and thought flashes it to education. There is nothing so fickle as a lapis lingua, non compos mentis, when you need it. Memory of education is as devoid as the memory of Innate is exhaustless. Our innate relationships with many educated people frequently recall many diversified items, yet Innate, knowing we needed them, thought flashes them direct pronto. If permitted, this flashing back of ideas into the past becomes a habit we rely on. And that sums it up, doesn't it?
It sure does.
And Bruce Lipton talks about it in our language today.
And, you know, it's poignant. You know, I couldn't remember Einstein for a moment, but then, you know, when it comes, it's right
There you
there.
go.
And it's
There's
100%.
a prime example. There you go.
Is that why you wanted to read this section? You wanted to pick on me, didn't you, Alan?
I would never do that.
I'm kidding you. Okay.
No,
how about the
I
next
gave you
section?
an innate adjustment while we were talking so you could remember.
I needed it. Let me tell you. Why don't we do this next section right here and we'll end it, because this is a good one too.
You good? You want the next section then?
You don't mind? Yeah, let's get that one
No
and we'll
problem.
start this next one next time.
Excellent. Throughout this explanation of the supreme values of innate thought flashes, we have depreciated values of education per se. We do not underestimate any and all practical applications of any and all useful educations in sciences and arts based on conformity with truth, which work with rigid, dynamic, constructive constructions, and are definite realities, present positive facts, have reliable evidence and proof, such as the science and arts of astronomy, chemistry, mathematics, and all kindred forms based thereon. So he's saying, we're not denying that there's value in education. It has a purpose and it's valuable and needs to be recognized and utilized, but you gotta be able to leave it alone long enough to let Innate, you gotta be willing to let Innate come through and talk to you.
I think of it as a bridge builder, right?
Yeah.
You have a thought flash or a dream of this amazing new structure that's never been created. You get it down, you write it in your thought book, and your education now, you've got to make it safe, drivable, understand the values of concrete and their flexibility, and know how the wind is blowing over the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever it is. Education has its place, and the innate is the driving force, is what I think of first. But yeah, absolutely.
It's not, they work, it's not an either or, they work together. But innate is the supreme, but educated innate would not have allowed educated to develop if she hadn't thought it was worthwhile.
Yeah. Anybody else? Bear, you unmuted. You got any last points?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I have a couple of questions. So after the paragraph, do you notice the 9 or the 8 asterisk marks? And I've been seeing this in this chapter that we've been reading. I looked back on the last couple of chapters. The end of the couple of chapters that had them, some of them didn't. And I'm starting to think that maybe these were thought flashes of his on paper on his typewriter that he printed out and with different dates. And then whoever compiled this book together in 1966 put this together. But I was noticing those asterisk marks after each of these paragraphs. The other thing, listening to you guys talk about the wonders of our profession and innate, is that and BJ is that and all the things that he listed on some of the enumerations, I didn't recall that he wrote anything down about WOC and being part of a TV station, which is huge.
Yeah.
He's got deep sea fishermen there, hobbyists, artists, but
Printer, publisher, and author.
Yeah, but I don't recall. I guess he's being very humble here. This, first radio station west of the Mississippi and first TV station west of the Mississippi is pretty huge.
Yeah, and you know what?
Anyway,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
Consider you have it behind you as your wallpaper there. It is a very important factor. And I think chiropractic, it was a necessary factor for chiropractic. Before I started chiropractic school, I worked in radio for about 6 months or so, and in radio sales. And I got a BJ Palmer was the sales book, and it was in a binder. It wasn't anything fancy, and they gave it to the newbies. I now have a one from David Palmer gave to somebody, but that was a big thing. He wrote that, the salesman's guide for puffs of air, and you're right. Why didn't he mention that?
Yeah. And if you think about it, that radio salesmanship book, what do they teach about it? They tell you to make things really small and really direct and to the point, which in a way correlates with our innate conversation tonight. It's quick, it's short, it's to the point. I'm WOC at Davenport, Iowa. Or I'm WOC at Davenport. There's only one Davenport. It's in Iowa. You don't need to say Davenport, Minnesota, Davenport, Kentucky. It's Iowa.
There you go. We do the same thing even in our office. We're very specific. We say what we mean and we move on, right? And that's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no open rebuttal for that. This is it. Here we go. 100% made up mind, right?
Yep.
Interesting. We got maybe something around the history right there at that end of his life with those radio stations, and something may have been eating at him. Who knows? Who knows? Well,
I think it was big corporations coming at him. Yeah, I would say it's big corporations coming at him with millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Trying to buy him out. And he was buying other radio stations at the time. And when he wrote this in 1961 too, he said he had 37 volumes. I believe he has a total of 39 because this was written, of course, when he wrote it here in this book, this was printed after his death.
It wasn't published yet. Do we count, this is volume 39, but he didn't write all the green books.
No.
He's published them.
Correct.
And there's multiple things. I can't think. I think I have most of them that aren't written by him as well, which I think is maybe 5 or 6 books. I can't remember, but we'll figure that out too. Guys, and ladies and gentlemen, this was a great evening, and
There's more of this chapter to go.
Huh?
There's more of this chapter to go.
Well, this whole book right now really is inspirational, and it's it's like the warm fuzzy feeling of BJ, like you're hanging out with your granddad and he's telling you the stories of his life. When I was your age, I already built $2 million worth of research equipment in my garage. What have you done today? It's like I clipped my toenails. Thank God I got a nail clipper. Couldn't find one.
I was thinking as I was reading this chapter, I was thinking about the fact we skipped over and we waded through a lot and skipped over a bunch, but he went through all that scientific stuff that he did and put all that down on paper. And now here towards the end of the book, he's getting back to the philosophical data.
Well,
and making sure that that's getting laid out too.
And just to be clear,
he's telling you all the stuff that he did in his lifetime in this book, but he's come back around to the philosophical data, and I got really excited as I was reading this chapter.
It's awesome. And just to be clear, all we skipped was the what if Dee Dee would have not have done this, or what if we wouldn't have done that, and what if. And that was, it's speculation. And, he was thinking through, what if we never would have developed the neurocolometer? What if Dee Dee would have asked, do you think this is the right thing for a medical doctor? And if they said no, maybe he would have never been inspired. So those are the types of things we skipped a little bit. So we've been pretty consistent with this.
Oh, yeah.
But, and we're getting really to the meat of it. And I love the philosophical part, of course, absolutely, positively. Well, this was a great evening, everybody. I'm really excited to have you all here. You are the 1% of the 1%, spending Tuesday evening with the philosophical call of chiropractic. And, God bless y'all. And I really appreciate you. I'm here for, just in awe today. I really am. And I appreciate it. Steve, do you want to say something?
No, I was just
Good night,
waving
everybody.
goodbye, blessings.
I saw that video you posted of that adjusting that baby. And I usually don't approve of seeing the adjustments online, but that was a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you.
And so many people, you see some, like that guy down in Texas that rips through everything 4 times, and and even seeing side posture and some forceful cervical adjustments. I think that those are detrimental for the public to be looking at all the time. But your interaction with the mother and that baby were just a beautiful thing, and that was, I loved watching that.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. And I had trepidation. Should I put these videos on there? But what I'm trying to do is get a little bit of attention for what we're doing here too. It's not about me, but really, people like them, and I'm hoping to draw them into a little bit more chiropractic philosophy. And it works at times, but thank you for that, Alan.
Watching, you could see the change in that baby from the time it laid on the table to the time you were done. From being still and not moving and being a wriggly, happy, smiling little baby.
And
really was dramatic.
He was just sucking, and that's a brand new baby.
Yeah.
I just did a thing that's innate baby adjusting, and I just taught a segment for Deed Harrison and Dr. George Curry, who invited me to do one of their next pediatric workshops. So you guys will see that's coming out really, really soon. And we went through a whole year of innate adjusting. There's 4 entirely different seminars over the last year with manuals. It was not an easy task, but we did it. And so we're starting over again, and we're getting back to innate baby this year. So in a way, that was my preempting with people for innate baby adjusting. So thank you, Alan. That warms my heart. I appreciate your input on that. Thank you very much. And I respect it a great deal. God bless y'all. You have a beautiful night.
Thanks for
Um,
doing this, Haig. Good to see you guys.
you're welcome.
Thank you,
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
Have a good night. God
Love you,
bless.
Carol. Say hi to Bob for us.